World Rugby are trying to take down the Springboks with these rule changes. Now, World Rugby are set to make some radical changes to the laws of set pieces, which would benefit teams with a weaker scrum, which inherently would disadvantage the Springboks because we know how much of a weapon that scrum has been in their double back-to-back World Cup victories. So why? Why do World Rugby want to make these changes to the laws that inherently will disadvantage the Springboks? Well, it all comes down to the entertainment factor. They're looking to grow the game of rugby in the next decade, and they have a 5-step approach to do that, where they're going to adopt, explore, and trial laws to try and make the game a little bit more entertaining so that they can bring a new audience into the rugby hemisphere. So what World Rugby has announced is that they have an immediate term plan, and then they're getting together on the 9th of May to discuss plenty different types of law changes that is going to increase the speed of the game of rugby and make it more entertaining. Now, in the immediate term, as of the 19th of March, they have implemented a couple of laws that are taking place right now. We're going to run through those really quickly, and then we're going to get into May 9th and what they're going to be proposing when they all get together, which is some very, very interesting laws that's definitely going to shake up how teams go about playing the game of rugby. So as of the 19th of March, Law 15.17, players will be expected to use the ball more quickly when the ball has been secured at a ruck or breakdown. Referees will be asked to call use it earlier, which will begin the 5-second count to play the ball away. Law 19.10, hookers will be expected to maintain a full break foot to aid scrum stability and safety during the engagement sequence. Any adjustment must maintain the act of the break. And then Law 6.29, strict reinforcement of the 2022 law trial relating to water carries entering the field of play. So in my opinion, those are a couple of fair law changes, not drastic law changes that are going to increase the speed of play, make it a little bit safer, and then obviously you don't want water boys running on every 10 minutes. So those are fair. Now what I want to get into is what they're going to be proposing on the 9th of May, which is some crazy laws. We've seen a couple of them being implemented in Super Rugby this year, but let's dive into them. So the first recommendation is to make adjustments to Law 10 in relation to players being put onside when there are kicks in open play, as per the current Super Rugby Pacific trial, which aims to reduce kicking tennis. Now, they have been trialing it in Super Rugby. To me, I don't really know if it has been working. We have seen plenty kicking battles still. The old rule was a little bit more lenient on this, in that you didn't really have to chase your kick. If there was a player within 10 meters of the player who catches the ball, then they would be allowed to try and tackle that player once that player had gone 10 meters. Now, if you kick the ball or if you're behind the ball, you have to run forward and put everyone onside before someone can make a tackle, which, I mean, in hindsight was probably a very good idea, but now teams are just chasing the ball a little bit better, and I don't think it's made that much of a difference. Kicking is still going to play a massive part in the game of rugby, especially because of the implementation of the 50-22, and I think teams have sort of already got over this law in Super Rugby, and it probably will be included into the URC and international rugby, because international rugby is where we see kicking battles the most. So if we can get a little bit more running rugby in international rugby, I have no problems with that. Another 2 recommendations they are going to make is the outlawing the practice of the croc roll. I'm all there for it. Croc roll, I'll put some images on the screen if you don't know what a croc roll is. But it's just player safety, and I agree with it. The third recommendation they're going to make is the 20-minute red card. Now, we saw in the 2023 World Cup final when Sam Cane got a red card, he was off for the entire game. What they're going to be presenting is 20-minute red card. That doesn't mean that that player will come back onto the pitch. It just means that they can send on a replacement and not play the rest of the game with 14 men. So again, I also think that is a very, very good rule. That World Cup final would have been a lot different, I think, if Sam Cane stayed on that field. I'm not saying the Springboks would have lost it, but it definitely would have been a little bit more competitive, and I do think New Zealand felt a little bit hard done by. We don't want to see in a World Cup final 15 versus 14. We want to see 15 versus 15. So I'm all there for it, for the 20-minute red card. We've seen it being trialed in a couple of competitions, and I really like it. And then the big law that they're going to present, which is the point of this video, is the removal of the scrum option from a free kick at a scrum, reducing dead time. So what does this mean? We've often seen free kicks at a scrum. Now with this rule, you wouldn't be able to scrum again. And as we've seen for the Springboks, this is a crucial weapon in how they won the 2019 and the 2023 World Cup. So you can't help but think that World Rugby are trying to target the Springboks and make them a little bit weaker. And I also think Damian Willemse was probably the reason that this got brought up. If you remember when he was in the 22, called the mark, called the scrum, and we scrummed. When you call a mark, it is a free kick. So I'm not sure if that law is also going to be included or if it's only free kicks gained from a scrum. Now, there obviously are a couple of problems with this. Teams with a weaker scrum definitely have more an advantage, and maybe we won't see so much emphasis placed on scrummaging. Obviously, they're doing it so that it can speed up the game, so that there's not that much dead time, so that rugby can be more entertaining and garner a bigger audience. The problem I have with this is that I can see a loophole in this law. What is stopping teams with a weaker scrum at every single scrum giving away a free kick penalty on purpose so that they don't have to scrum? What the norm is at the moment is when someone gets a free kick from a scrum, depending on where they are on the field. But normally you'll see a team go for another scrum. If this law gets implemented, that's no longer a thing. Teams won't be able to keep scrumming once they get free kicks. Obviously, if you get a penalty, then you will be able to scrum. But this is going to influence how teams play. I mean, I'm already thinking that Rassie has a solution for this, and maybe the Springboks will even start using the free kick on purpose to avoid scrummaging. You just never know what's going to happen, but I definitely do see a very clear loophole in that law. When teams are under pressure on their 5 meter or in their 22, what is stopping them from just giving away a simple free kick and then the scrum cannot take place? Then you either have to tap and go, put up and under, kick out for a line out, but then it's the other team's ball. So there's a lot to unravel with this law change. I'm actually of the opinion that they might stop giving free kick penalties away at scrum time, because teams could so easily just dupe the system and never have to scrum ever again. It's going to look like rugby league. So yes, I get World Rugby have the right intentions here. They want to speed up the game. We want to see more action on a rugby field. We don't want to be sat at a scrum for 3 to 4 minutes waiting for play to start again. Their intentions are good. But as a South African, as a Springbok, given the last World Cup and Damian Willemse's move, I just get the feeling that they're targeting the Springboks, trying to make the Springboks a little bit weaker. If they can say that there won't be any more free kicks at scrum time, only full-length penalties, then I could potentially get behind this. But I just don't know if they're going to do that. It's going to be very interesting to see what they decide. As always, let me know what you think down in the comments. Are you for this? Are you against this? I could see a lot of South Africans being against this. I could see a lot of teams or fans in the Northern Hemisphere definitely being for this. So let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you leave this video a like, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.